And I really can't justify, what I'm about to tell you, dude, because I had everything going for me. But I just decided I would be a bank robber instead.
Welcome back to the Locked In with Ian Bick podcast. On today's episode, we have Victor Shear. Guys, you are going to love Victor Shear's story, and you're going to love this episode. I think he's our first official bank robber on the show, and he brings the heat with this entertaining storytelling. Before we get into today's episode, I got to ask you guys something. Do you want to get chef-prepared meals on the table in 2 minutes? Well, head over to factormeals.com/LockedIn50 and use code LockedIn50 to get 50% off your first order and 20% off your next order after that. I want to give a huge shout out to Factor for not only being our first official sponsor of Locked In last year, but for continuously supporting this show. It means the absolute world. I love Factor. I love their brand, and I'm so excited to continuously push them out in the Locked In with Ian Bick podcast. Victor, welcome to Locked In. You are our first Victor on the show.
Thank you for having us.
How's it feel? A lot of pressure?
No. No. Victor stands for what? Winner or something? So hopefully I can pull this off, I think.
Does it? Oh, Victor,
yeah.
like a Victor.
Yeah, my father was in World War II, and they killed some Japanese, and a guy took the rice wine and said, "So go the spoils of war to the victor." And that stuck in my dad's head. So later when he came home from the war, that's how the name Victor comes from.
And you also have an Indian name you go
Mad
back to.
Duck. Yeah, my dad is Mohawk. So my Christian name is Victor Shear. My Indian name is Mohawk.
Did you grow up?
I'm sorry, Mad Duck.
Okay, Mad Duck.
My dad is Mohawk.
Did you grow up practicing the Native American culture?
Not really, but this is crazy. I was born in Schenectady, New York.
I've heard of that.
It's pronounced Schenectady, and it means through the pines. And I bring that up because there's actually a bank robbing movie called Through the Pines, and it's about a bank robber in Schenectady, New York. Yeah.
But it doesn't happen to be about you.
No. And then after that, I spent from 0 to 16 in a place called Burn Hills, New York, and so named because the Indians would burn the hills, the grass would come back, that would attract the Indians. And then that would attract the deer, and then the Indians would kill the deer. And I now live in a place called Canajoharie, which is Iroquois for the boiling pot, because there's a part in the river where it goes in a circle. And my grandmother filled me with Indian stories. So, yeah, we always had the Indian stuff going on.
Did you grow up in a big family?
Yeah, so I was in Burn Hills, New York. It's me, my mom, my 3 sisters, my 1 brother, and my grandmother. My dad honestly bought a motorcycle and left us in a farmhouse in the middle of winter. I went back to Arkansas to see my brother, and I said, look, I got to go on this podcast. This kid's going to ask me about my childhood. If you had to explain our childhood in 1 sentence, what would it be? And I'll give him 3 weeks to come up with this. Wake up, he's standing over my bed, which you'll find when I tell the stories is what he does. He says, I got it. I say, you got what? He's like, I got that for you. I said, okay, what is it? He said it was germinating through gravel. So like a flower needs sun, we had that. We had love, but that was it. We were super, super broke.
You came really prepared to answer that question.
Yeah, well, thanks to my brother, So, like some of my earliest memories is I had 3 older sisters and they had their friends. So I can remember girls holding me down and kissing me and stuff. So I don't remember ever being scared or hungry or cold. But I knew there was never, ever going to be anything extra. Like, I think when Nikes came out, I was a kid, I wasn't going to get Nikes. So my mom got me a pair of Nikes, and they had like a little circle above them. And people were like, what's that? And I said, but those are Japanese Nikes. So they just went along with it. And back when I was a kid, everybody wanted a Super Goose or a Mongoose bike. Well, I was going to get fucking Agway, dude. So I just took the stickers. I bought stickers from a Redline bike, which nobody had. They were top of the line. I just took the Agway stickers off and put those on. So I guess I just kind of compensated for being poor.
I remember being a kid and how important it was to have that mongoose bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was literally just a name, and then to have the wheelie bars on the back so someone could ride on it.
Well, here's the thing. Redline was so good and Agway was so poor. Nobody had ever seen them before. So when I switched stickers, they were like, oh, that must be a Redline. So that's how I pulled that off.
Now that you're older, what's one thing that you lacked in your childhood that you wish you had? Maybe it was an emotion or something physical, but now that you're older, you realize you actually lack that, and you might not have realized you lacked it back then.
I don't know. I probably still lack it. I don't know. I mean, I guess I thought my childhood was normal. It certainly wasn't, dude. I was a latchkey kid. I was always by myself. But one thing I did want to bring up is, in my neighborhood, everybody had snowmobiles and motorcycles. We didn't. So we would play these games, hide-and-go-seek snowmobile and hide-and-go-seek motorcycle. And you would just run out in the woods, and two kids on a motorcycle or snowmobile would come and try to find you and then whack you on the back. And then, you were out. And I can just remember some of my earliest memories of a child is just being chased through the woods. And then we would play kick the can at night. And I know the first time I got to go with the big kids on Halloween, we didn't go very far, and they took I was Snoopy, they took it, and they had made a small stuffed child out of hay. And this is the 70s, so trees grew out over the trees, and they had climbed up, and they take it, and they swing it out in front of this poor woman, and for a moment, she thinks she's hit a kid, and they chase us, so... My childhood, I was always just being chased. In the wintertime, we hit cars with snowballs. In the summertime, we hit them with apples. I really had no supervision. My mom worked all the time. So, and my grandmother was okay, but, well, this is a grandmother.
Yeah.
And then my brothers and sisters had things to do. So I spent just a lot of time by myself. So... that's where this whole Mad Duck thing, he didn't have a name till later. I'll tell you how I got that name. But I've always talked to myself and kind of answered myself.
How would your friends describe you back then, if we had one of your close childhood friends here today?
Before the drugs?
Yeah, before.
Oh, just a funny, good kid. My mom said I was really no problem. Yeah.
That's good.
Just a funny, go-along kid.
When do you think that started?
I am the bad crowd, though. I can never, I'm the one that said, hey, let's do this. So I am 100% the bad crowd.
We all have that one in the group.
I can't be like, oh, yeah, I got to say this. And you met Dana. All of my friends are better than me. They're just great, great people. And speaking of them, I got to say a quick thanks to Jill, Stephanie, and Dana, who helped me record these stories, and Matt and Mike. When I was in prison, they said, write it all down. Because all I wanted to do was forget everything. But they said, write it all down. So
you wrote everything down?
Yeah, I have tons and tons of stories.
Are you going to publish a book at all or anything?
Sure, we'll see how this goes. If you get a bunch of hate mail, probably not.
Oh, it's not going to get any hate mail. It's all about character and emotion and personality, and you have that. Not everyone has that, That's where episodes do well, when you have someone that's like that. That's why it works for me, because I have this unique personality, so it works like that for you. And you're very high energy, and you're excited, which is good too.
Absolutely.
When do you think things started to turn bad? Because you had a normal childhood for the most part.
Yeah. Okay. So at 16, I've discovered two things: marijuana and the real secret of women. I mean, I've always cared for women, because I was born and raised by women. But once I found out that, the whole thing with women are the best. So I probably started screwing up then. So I get in trouble for stealing the parents' car. And what it was done, when I was 16, my mom finally remarried, and we moved into town. And when it snowed real bad, they would take one car. So we would go dig my mom's car out and then drive it around, pull it back, and then recover it with snow. Well, eventually I get caught, and I go down to Florida for a while. I'm only in Florida for about 3 months to let things cool down, and I saw the Space Shuttle Challenger blow up. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Mm-mm.
Oh, well, It was down in Florida in like 85 or 86.
You know, I wasn't even born yet.
Right, yeah. So
I was born in 95.
Yeah, so I come back, I get in trouble again, this time for criminal trespass. And I'm sneaking into friend's house, taking money, just causing mayhem. But now I'm 17. So this would have been around 85 or 86. And as long as you didn't do anything serious, you're allowed to join the military. So I call my brother, I say, I'm in trouble, I got to join the military. We all knew this was coming. He says, join the National Guard as a medic. Because I'm really not a killer. Like, I'm not going to make it in the Marines. And I don't want to spend 2 days in a puddle just to shoot a stranger. I don't want to do that. So I go, I become a medic. I come back. I go to the 345th Combat Support Hospital. That doesn't work out. I moved back to Florida with my sister because they have an airborne unit there. I'd seen guys wearing berets, and they looked cool. So I joined a Special Forces unit, 20th Group Special Forces. This will later get me in trouble, but I got to say this. If you see a picture of me in the Army, I do wear a green beret, but I am not a Green Beret. The Green Berets were around in the 60s, and then they disbanded. They became Special Forces. In Special Forces, you wear a Green Beret, but it's not the Green Beret that's so important. It's the tab. So I was not tabbed. I don't want to get off the impression that I was like some Special Forces trained killer. I was not. But I was in a Special Forces unit in Camp Landon, Florida and stuff. So the war comes. I don't do anything for the war. You would think in a Special Forces unit, you're going to the front lines. They tell us we are. This is Desert Storm. I think it ended in 72 hours. So I just I didn't do anything. I come back. I get out of the Army. I decide my goal is, when I was young, I used to watch 2 movies all the time. One was Jeremiah Johnson. This is a story of an ex-soldier who has a secret cabin. And the next one is Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. And they had a secret cabin. They were bank robbers, and they called it Hole in the Wall Gang. So I watched these movies because we didn't have cable. There's no internet back then. So I have to say I grew up wanting to be an ex-soldier with a secret cabin and a bank robber that saves kids. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what these guys did. I didn't want to be like Heat and stuff, but have you ever watched Paul Newman and Robert Redford and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid?
I haven't watched it, but I've heard of it.
You're going to want to rob a bank.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
So you're telling me that inspired you to commit bank robberies?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because, so I go to nursing school. I go back to New York. I graduate nursing school.
So you're out of the military at this point?
I'm out of the military.
Did,
After Desert Storm, anybody that had completed their contract and was on a second sign-up could get out, and I had done that. So I get an honorable discharge. I go up to New York because I want to, build a secret cabin in the woods. I don't know how to do it. I've never had a dad or anything. So I get a job doing transportation in a hospital, and I start talking to a nurse, and she explains that in nursing, you can pick your schedule, So that's the way to do it. So because I had been a medic in Desert Storm, it sounded great. Although I swept the floor, it was enough to get me into nursing school. So I graduate nursing school about 3 years later. So this would have been about 96. I buy a Subaru wagon. I'm going to drive out to Alaska and build the secret cabin. I drive out to Alaska. And I get a job as a bear guide at, I think it's Great Alaska Fish Camp and Safari. And they fly me out to Lake Clark National Park. And I work a summer as a bear guide. I mean, it's like a dream job. We live in tents, and people would fly out. And how you show people bears is it's real simple. As the tide goes out, it traps all these salmons in little pools, and the bears go there. And you just bring them to the pools. It's not like super tracking or anything. So I did that, and at the time, I hadn't passed actual boards, but I had like a temporary license. So I do pass the boards. I get a job on Wrangell Island as a staff/flight nurse. Now, if you look at Alaska, there's like Washington State, and then it kind of trickles into islands like Juneau, Sitka, and stuff. So what I would do is each one of those islands had like a different piece of medical gear. Like one had the CAT scan, one had the MRI, and maybe one had nuclear medicine. I don't remember now. So I would just fly these people back and forth. So that was my flight nurse and stuff. The only time it ever got sketchy is I once flew a dude through a storm with a pilot who we called Leatherface because he had crashed and melted his face.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so he had nothing to lose. But that was the only time I really did anything hairy as a flight nurse. So I decide I'm not going to build this secret log cabin in Alaska because I'm never going to see my family again. And my sister's got 4 kids and stuff. So I'm going to come back to New York and build it.
How old are you at this point?
30, dude.
So 10 years goes by pretty much.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It goes like that in life.
So what service, so we got the timeline, 18 to 22 was, you were in the military about?
Yeah, I got out of the Army about 25.
Oh, so you did a little bit longer than 4 years?
Yeah, I actually did 5.5, but I was National Guard. I was going to school part-time at the University of North Florida.
Okay, and then you did the nursing.
I did the nursing from like 96 to 97. It's a 2-year program.
Okay.
And then 97, I went to Alaska.
Okay. I was in Alaska in September.
Oh, where'd you go?
I was staying in Anchorage.
Okay, Stank. That's
and
not
then I
Alaska.
drove an hour to Wasilla to speak.
Okay.
And I got to explore like in the ponds and walk around. It's so beautiful.
Did you happen to see Seward or Homer? Mm-mm. Oh man, you got to go to those. Those are the hippie places.
Really?
I lived on Homer Spit for a whole summer.
Yeah.
I built this really cool, and that's where the guy came and gave me the job. I only got the job as a bear guide because I built a really cool fort out of rocks, and he knew I was a nurse in case a bear ate somebody.
Are bears really dangerous? Like they're depicted in movies?
It could be. I'll tell you something they taught us. This is a great trick. If a bear comes after you, if you have the option, just climb 4 feet up in a tree. And if he reaches up, you shoot his elbows. That's really if a bear really wants you, I think you're in big trouble, even if you have a gun.
Did you see that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio?
The
Revenant?
Yeah.
That was insane how that bear tore him to pieces.
Yeah, I read, so when I got to be a bear guide, I had to read all these stories. And I read a story about a guy, and a bear came after him, and he shot him all these times with his rifle, and shot him all these times with his pistol. And the bear got him down, and when it went to bite his head, its jaw popped off because one of the rounds had hit it. So, yeah, I don't know how you stop those. Like, I never felt, that's one reason also I left Alaska. I'm kind of a stoner. You have to pay attention in Alaska. Things will eat you. So, I just left, because when I get high in the woods, I don't have to worry about something.
So now you're back. You're in your 30s. You're back.
I turned 30 years old on Wrangell Island. All I own is a painting I had bought from a gallery in Seward. And I was like, you got to do something with your life. So I go back to New York. On the way back, I get sidetracked, and I go to Texas. I buy a VW bus, and me and a kid we'll call him Case Swindell. We drive it all the way to Central America, down to Belize, and we go scuba diving. Then we drive it all the way back. I drop them off in Texas. I drive all the way up to New York. And I swear to you, in one day, I found the property I wanted. So I buy this property. I park this bus. I spend the next 2 years building a secret log cabin. I work at a pediatric vent floor, and I actually do help save children. The problem is that when you work at those places, you don't get to save all children. Kids die and stuff, and that's very depressing. So we do that for 2 years, and we basically got it built, but we need a lot of money for like plumbing and stuff. So we get a job as a traveling nurse, and I moved to Waterbury, Connecticut.
Oh, I live 30 minutes out from Waterbury. Danbury is about 30 minutes from Waterbury.
I live, you know where Waterbury's clock is?
Yeah, I
The
lived in
train station.
Yeah, I lived in the halfway house in Waterbury.
Oh, that
for a
would
little
be
bit.
fuck. I just heard that story. A halfway house is rough.
Oh
dude.
yeah, Waterbury and Hartford. I guess Hartford is a nicer, but Waterbury is not a nice area.
Neither is Bridgeport.
Yeah, Bridgeport has a little bit better parts.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, but Waterbury is like.
I supervised a nursing home in Bridgeport once. Yo, this CNA walks up to me and says, "You need to go in that office. We're gonna call you if we need you. Keep your mouth shut." I went in that office. I just kept my mouth shut, man. I was like, I'd heard stories about them slashing your car tires. It was,
Wow.
yeah, that can be
So you
rough.
end up in Waterbury.
Yeah, in 2001 happens, 9/11.
Yeah.
So I did go to 9/11. I drove from Waterbury, Connecticut, fairly close, and I had a trauma ID, and I showed it to a cop, and he gave me a ride to Ground Zero. And I
you
spent
were helping out. Oh.
Yeah, I spent 11 hours there. I have a lot of 9/11 stories.
Wow.
If you want one, I'll tell you one.
Yeah,
You will
give it.
not feel better afterwards.
Give us one.
Okay.
It would be interesting to
Yeah,
hear
remember,
that
this-
perspective.
It's 100% true. So when I got to 9/11, I get out of the police car, and there's a ring of police officers. And I show them my ID. It says trauma nurse. I walk right through. I'm in scrubs. I've taken a bunch of $20 bills and put them in one sock. I filled the other sock with Snicker bars. I figure I can get water or something. So I left Waterbury shortly after the first one fell. So I think I got there approximately around 11 o'clock. So I go through the police barricade. I walk maybe a block. There's another ring, but this time it's National Guard dudes. And this is no lie. Once I walked past that National Guard thing, there was nobody. I was alone at Ground Zero for hours, man. There was nobody. I just walked around, and the only sound was rustling paper. There was just millions and millions of papers. There was no sirens. There's no sound. And there's no color. Everything is gray. Everything is gray, and the only sound is rustling paper. So I come to an intersection, and I'm looking around, because I'm thinking there's going to be all these hurt people and trauma stuff. There's nobody, dude. And I look down, and something blinks at me, like blink, 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 and it's in the road. So I start walking, and it just keeps like a lighthouse bringing me in, blinking, blinking, blinking. I'm getting closer. And remember, everything's gray, but there's something golden in front of it and stuff. And I'm getting closer, and it's tan, and it's golden, and it keeps just, sparkling at me. And I finally get up there, and it's a woman's arm from here down. And it's her wedding ring that is enormous, that is glistening towards me. And she's got 2 to 3 silver rings on each hand. And she's got silver bracelets, probably 15 of them. But what I noticed most is that she had a charm bracelet. And somebody definitely cared a lot for this lady. So I looked at the arm, and I could tell from that arm, I'd seen arms like that. Like, she was definitely a very beautiful woman with blonde hair. Like, I could see the golden blonde hair. But what got me is, do you know why that arm wasn't gray?
Why?
How could everything be gray but not that arm? That's what I couldn't understand for the longest time. And then I figured it out. I believe that arm was thrown so far up into the air that all the dust had settled, and then it came back down. It was the only thing of color, man. How else could that have happened?
Wow.
I should have picked it up, but what was I gonna? And then I knew if I picked it up for the rest of my life, every time I picked something up, I would have been like, oh, that's more than an arm. That's less than an arm. Have you ever picked up pieces of people? It's disturbing.
And the body wasn't attached
Now,
to
there's
it?
nothing around.
Wow.
There's nothing around. You would look at something, you'd be looking at something, talking, and then you'd be like, oh, fuck, that's a torso. Everybody was just pieces everywhere, dude.
Let's take a quick pause to talk about our sponsor for today's episode. Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. That's 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. So what are you waiting for? Use code LOCKEDIN50 at factormeals.com/LOCKEDIN50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. I have to tell you guys, transforming my meals with Factor has been an absolute game changer. From the variety of 35 meals and 60 plus add-ons each week to the premium ingredients like filet mignon and the blackened salmon, every bite is a delicious and nutritious experience. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. You can crush your wellness goals this summer with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients you can trust. From breakfast to dessert, stay fueled with easy, nutritious options that make your day delicious. You could treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals featuring premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and the blackened salmon. Guys, I gave the blackened salmon a try, and it's really, really good. Don't miss out on it and try the blackened salmon today. Head to factormeals.com/LOCKEDIN50 and use code LOCKEDIN50 to get 50% off your first box. Plus, there's a plus, 20% off your next month. That's code LOCKEDIN50 at factormeals.com/LOCKEDIN50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Now, without further ado, let's get back into my episode with Victor Shear. What was the temperature? Was it hot? Was it cold?
It was the most beautiful. It was beautiful. The most beautiful day. It wasn't hot at all. There was no wind.
Even with the fires and the smoke?
There was no fire or smoke. I saw no fire or smoke where I was. No. There was no sound but rustling paper. There was a 7-Eleven, and I walked in, and there were firemen getting equipment and stuff. So I took out a $20 bill, and I said, look, I'm not a looter, and I threw it down. And I bought one of those instant cameras, and I took pictures. I can document everything I told you. I have these pictures where there's just nobody and stuff. And so I was there. I was standing right next to number 7 when it fell. And I watched it fall, man, right in front of me.
This was the first tower?
The last third.
Towers.
I had gone down when the first one fell. It had been bombed once before, so they knew it was going to get hit again. I can't remember. Rashid something, super piece of shit. Every New Yorker should know his name. He had hit it once.
With the car bomb, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we knew they'd hit again. So everybody had practiced where they were going. I have a picture of 13 ambulances lined up. Everybody's dead. Everybody's gone. I mean, it's just these big boulders all around them. Now, later, I would go in those ambulances and take all the IV bags, because what happened was there's, God, what is it? What's in concrete that burns your eyes? Lime. So after hours of that, there is some dust. Your eyes just felt like there was glass in them and stuff. But I can remember one time I was talking to somebody and the ground was going like this. And so I stepped back and kicked up the board. And then, I'm standing on somebody. There was just pieces everywhere.
Does that still haunt you to this day, those memories?
I don't think anything haunts me, but it might. I might have a problem. The one thing I do often think of is there was a man whose head had been cut off and his brains had dumped out. And if I forget the name of it, I should know this as a nurse, but his head was white like a porcelain bowl. From time to time when I pour cereal, I'm like, hey. But no, nothing else. I don't think.
Why do you only stay 11 hours that day? I know people stayed multiple days.
They didn't need a nurse. Number one, they needed to start moving things. Nobody was really hurt. I never saw a hurt person. And number two, my eyes were finished, dude. I just really couldn't see. But they needed to start moving out trucks and stuff. They didn't need a nurse. You were either dead or you got away. So that's why I left after 12
But
hours.
there were people that were trapped underneath the rubble, right?
Right, and you needed guys that could use heavy equipment. I'm in scrubs. I'm already cut to pieces.
Yeah.
It's time for me to go.
Wow.
I really thought it'd be like tons of hurt people. I'm telling you. Nobody, dude. I never saw one hurt person.
I mean, in the movie with the firefighter and the police officer that got trapped, in some of the scenes, it's kind of like a ghost town while they're searching for people. It's very quiet and eerie.
Yeah, I could show you these photos. There's nobody. I mean, I walked into a donut shop. I remember in the gray had gone into the donuts and stuff. I walked into a jewelry shop. Everything was gray, and there was just nobody around, man.
Wow.
I was there when the first guy, I think from CNN, showed up or something with his camera. Because once it happened, they made those corridors. The only people that were coming in, it appeared, were like guys that had their days off and stuff. But I don't even know where you would start. It was so big and destruction. And then, yeah. And then that, I was there. 7 fell, and then it gets all... I have a photo you would think I took at night, but it wasn't. It gets like night. I mean, it just goes dark with the dust, and then it slowly clears and stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so where would that put us? 2002?
2001.
2001. Okay, from 2001 to 2008, I'm a traveling nurse. I work at different places. Some of the places I work is Great Meadows Maximum Security Correctional Facility.
You worked in a prison?
Oh, yeah. I worked in a bunch of them. I can't even remember. A bunch of medium New York ones, okay?
Federal or just state?
Just state. So 2008, I'm about 40 years old. I have a career making $80-something thousand a year. I got my secret cabin. I have cool cars. I have everything. And I can't remember what happens first. I either meet a girl, and I got to tell you how I met her because it's a big deal, or the IRS took $11,000 out of my account. That's up to 40 years old. I had a concealed weapons permit. I had I hadn't done anything, dude. But I still hadn't robbed a bank,
Wait, so, and you probably had a pension too from the service, right?
No, I do have free benefits.
Okay.
And stuff because of Desert Storm. But no, I wasn't in.
Oh, you didn't get any type of benefit, like financial benefits?
No. I mean, I think I could go get some, but no, I just have free health care.
And then you had the nursing pay.
Yeah.
Which was good money.
Yeah, I'm making $80-something thousand a year.
So what happened next?
I'm just a screw up. That's why I'm here talking to you. That's right, here we go. So, like in 2000, I'm building the log cabin. I cut a tree, it hits another tree, whacks me in the back hard. So I go to a friend's house, I spend the night, because I'm living in a bus. He gives me 2 white pills, Vicodin. Never heard of them. Even though I'm a nurse, I'm not a drug addict. So I take them. Fucking pain's gone. You know what? I feel great. So I go down to the VA. I say, yo, can I get these? Because I'd gotten banged up in a jump. I'd broken my feet. So I said, yo, my feet hurt. So that's Vicodin started in 1999. In 2008, I'll tell you the doses I was on. I was getting 420 Class A narcotics mailed to me from the VA. The VA mails you your pills right to you. I'm pretty sure this is what I was getting. 120 Vicodin 10-5s, 120 Tramadol. No, I'm wrong. 240 Vicodin 10-5s, 120 Tramadol 50 milligrams, 240 Neurontin 300 milligrams, and 60 milligram Valium. No, 60 10 milligram Valium pills. So I had just kept going to them, asking for more and more. And they always gave them to me. So in 2008, I have a super drug problem. And And I'm working at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility. And I'm working 16-hour shifts, so I would park my truck up in the parking lot in back and sleep because I didn't want to. They gave me money for an apartment or something, but I really just wanted to sleep in my truck and save the money and stuff. Mm-hmm. And at this point, let me tell you this: I'm on the Elvis diet. Do you know what that is?
No, what's that?
Okay. You take a bunch of pills to go up for the show, and then you take a bunch of pills after the show. So when I go to work, I fill up with Vicodin and Tramadol, and I take that all day. And then when I get out, I just fill up with Neurontin and Valium and crash. It's called the Elvis diet. So I'm laying in my truck. I don't know if I'd taken the pills or not, but there's a girl that had parked out there, and there's a dude. I know he's a correctional officer. That's all I know about him. Well, he wants to take the girl home. She doesn't want to go home. It gets worse and worse. Finally puts his hand on her. So I had a German entrenching tool. And again, I was raised by a single mom. If you're putting your hands on women or children, I'm not your friend. I know you've had people in here that beat up chomos and stuff. Yeah, I'd probably be one of them. I'm not going to forgive you,
At least you're honest.
Yeah. Yeah, if you've done stuff like that, you're not okay. I'm not going to forgive you ever. In fact, yeah. Well, anyways, so this is going and going. So finally, I just put on my boots. I get my German entrenching tool. I'm going to smoke this cat's boots, right? I come out, and it's perfect. I come out behind him, and the girl sees me, and the look. So he turns around. So he's a correctional officer. I know he has a pistol. He's either got it here or he's got it here. He's got a beer in his right hand. That means he's right-handed. If he switches the beers or if he tries to go for anything, he'll expose his collarbone and I'll just crack him, He doesn't. I remember he looks at his beer, he looks at my German entrenching tool and pivots and takes off. So I'm figuring he's going to a car to get the gun. So I take the girl, throw her in the car, drive her to a hotel, get her a room. This fool calls her, talking all crazy. I hear the whole thing. I sleep on the couch. Girl sleeps in the bed. In the morning, I bring her back to the prison, drop her off, run back to my secret cabin. I think it's over and done with. Fuck no, man. 7 people ratted me out. 7 people watched this dude grab this girl and didn't do anything. So it turns out to be a big deal, and I've got to do all these statements. Well, I keep writing bullshit statements. So the warden, they're not called wardens anymore.
Superintendent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just interviewed one.
Yeah, so he says, look, I'm going to have you talk to my secretary. You just keep telling her the story. They already know the story. They got it from 7 people. So every time I'm like, no, they're like, well, according to 6 other people, that's not what happened. Because... So his secretary, we're going to call her T, is my soon-to-be future wife down the road. That's how I meet her. So she keeps taking my statement, and it keeps getting changed and changed. So finally, it is what it is, and I do sound like a pretty cool guy. I come out of nowhere and save the girl. So this secretary, T, is 17 years younger than me. And she works at the prison, and I've kind of got an in, right? So I look good, so I definitely use that. And I ask her to come up to Mad Duck Pond. And she's Irish. Her and her sister come up. And Mad Duck Pond back then was just wild. Like when the pipes would freeze, we'd go out to the pond with a machine gun and shoot holes in the ice to get water. And we did that the first night she was there at night, and she loved it. She just totally was perfect, dude, and stuff. Because I had saved that girl, I believe she had an image of me that wasn't exactly correct. I'm certainly going to save somebody, but I'm not anti-bank robbing. I mean, I am, but, so... I don't know. Let me get a drink here. So, yeah, 2008. So, any questions up to 2008?
No, you're on a roll. Just pull it a little closer.
Do what now?
Pull the mic a little closer. There you go.
So it's 2008. I meet this girl. I look like a hero. I've never committed a felony. I look like a super good guy. And I had $11,000 saved up. Now, all this time that I've been a traveling nurse, I haven't been filing my taxes. I've had them done and stuff, but I actually haven't turned them in. Now, so the IRS decides I owe them money. I didn't. They thought that I was wrong not to file my taxes, but if I had, I knew I was getting money back. So I didn't care. Well, they cared, and they hit me with penalties. So they took the $11,000. And I really can't justify, what I'm about to tell you, dude, because I had everything going for me. But I just decided I would be a bank robber instead. I don't.
So that was the trigger. They took the 11,000.
Yeah, the excuse. Now, also, my friends say it was 50% me, 50% drugs. I think I always wanted to rob banks. When I was in Florida living with my sister during that Army time, my sister was a cop. And my brother-in-law from a different marriage was a cop. And my sister was a bank manager. And we would spend hours just talking about robbing banks. I mean, none of us really thought we would do it. But I learned everything about banks, police, basically everything, I would need. So I meet this girl. I lose my $11,000. I come up. Everything I do now, I call it an operation. From the Army, they would always have Operation Desert Storm or Desert Shield, so everything sounds cooler. So we were going to go to Europe to a place, Amsterdam, Holland. Have you been there?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you got to go?
I want to go to Amsterdam.
Yeah, you got to go. So I'd been there once before with Kay Swindell. And I told him, I said, yo, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to rent the oldest houseboat with a chick and blah, blah, blah. It's 4 years later. I do it. So I set up a plan to get my money back, and afterwards we'll take this trip. And it goes without, there's no problem. I think the best way to say these, from 2008 to 2013, I would call the time of great waste in my life. We did take terrific vacations. We went to Amsterdam for New Year's. We went to Ireland for St. Paddy's Day and took her to a hill she's named after. We went to Alaska for the 4th of July and Amsterdam again for my birthday and Nova Scotia to see whales. So there was a lot of good times, but there was also a lot of bad times because I'm a super drug addict. Like, on our way back from Alaska, I overdose on the plane. It's screaming down the runway. I think everything's cool. I take these pills. I'm looking out the window. We're rolling. I take these pills. I'm going to wake up in New York. I close my eyes. I open them. There's a paramedic standing there. I look up at my wife. She looks wrecked, like she's been crying hard. Everybody's looking at me like, what the fuck? He's like, you okay? I said, I'm fine. He says, you got to get off this plane. I said, I'm fine. Captain says, you got to go. So I go. And it must have been a pretty bad seizure because the way these people were looking at me, it was crazy. And for about 6 months, it hurt to do this. So my wife told me I just locked up and stuff. Also, being a drug addict, you do run out of pills and become dope sick. No matter how many pills you are given, somehow you always run out. So I don't want you to think that this was a great time of just money and trips. I can definitely say, if you ask me, did I ever put my wife's life in danger because of drug and alcohol? You bet. Did I ever get her physically hurt? Yeah. And then I took all of the Vicodin they gave her. Did I ever cause her emotional trauma? You bet. There's another time, I don't know why I did this. I swam across my pond with a gun on me. I fucking almost drowned. So I was constantly. Being in a relationship with me, I now realize, was like watching a dog you love try and cross a throughway. It's just a fucking matter of time. It's not you're just always worried sick. So I was a terrible husband and stuff. So 2013 comes. This is Operation Vanilla. There had been other operations. What do you know about Bora Bora?
I've heard of Bora Bora.
Okay, you ever heard of Vanilla Island?
No.
Well, T was great for figuring out what we were going to do. So
Wait, so you spent 5 years just planning your bank robberies?
I would go out every once or 6 or 8 months. When she got sick of my shit for just being a bum and all that, she would get to a point where I'd be like, well, then we'll go on a trip. And she would pick a place. And then I would go and get the money.
Wait, so when was your first bank robbery?
Sooner than 2013.
So between 2008 and 2013, you were robbing banks?
Yes.
And you were calling each one like an operation?
Yes.
So what would be like an operation name when you go to rob a bank? What do you call it?
Oh, sure. It's Operation Grasshopper, Operation Four-Leaf Clover, and Operation Fun Day 1 and 2.
And it's just you?
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody knows anything. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nobody knows anything.
Okay, and you end up getting caught for one of these robberies you were mentioning.
Operation Vanilla, summer 2013.
So walk us through that robbery.
Okay, so Operation Vanilla. T wants to go to Vanilla Island in Bora Bora. Bora Bora is, I learned, she was great at this, was a series of islands. One of those islands has a vanilla plantation that was and now isn't. And they have large tortoises. So that sounds cool, right? Get high and ride a turtle around an island that smells like vanilla? Yeah. So, okay, not a problem. So it's Operation Vanilla. This one was in Albany, New York. My wife was working at I believe it's called the college campuses. She was working for the state. So there's a bunch of state buildings. So my drug use now is crazy high and stuff. So I wake up in the morning, and this is very important. I put on a dirty pair of pants. Mistake number 1. I know today's the day. I go downstairs. I go to a certain cabinet where I have gloves and plastic bags that are never, ever touched. I take that bag. I put it in my cargo pants. I take some gloves. I put it in this cargo pants. T gets in the car. We're driving my car. I drop her off at work. I drive to the back parking lot. I already know there's no cameras there. I get out of the car. I scan the parking lot. Cars, there's nobody in the cars. I put on my uniform. For this one, I was a construction worker. I would wear like lifts. I bought 3-inch lifts. And it's funny, the 3-inch lifts, the cartoon had like a short dude. He was being rejected, and then he like had the lifts, and the girl liked him. Have you ever seen that one? Mm-mm. Oh, well. Anyway, so I had 3-inch lifts, and I had a kind of a homemade fat suit. And on this one, I was going to be a construction worker, so I got my big hat on. Because I'm a little guy. Nobody's going to take me serious, so I got to get all tough and stuff. So I put that all on. I go to the bank. I have a manila folder, and there is a .45 automatic taped in there. But I can still, it's taped in the bottom, so the top opens. And on the top it says, surprise, this is a robbery. You know, keep it happy, right? So I also like to put cones in front of the door, the bank door, when I walk in. So I'm walking in with the manila folder, everything. There's pictures of me somewhere on the internet. And so I'm not trying to hide. I put the cone there. I walk in right after they open. I already know everything that's going on. So I walk up to this woman. I set it down. She's a couple of feet away, and I open it up, and I put my hands here. I never pointed a gun at anybody. I don't believe in shock and awe. But it's not going to, trust me when I say, if you try to rob a bank in New York without a gun, good luck. I mean, you might get something, I don't know. But, so she sees that, walks up, boom, hits the alarm with this finger. Because as she came up, she fumbled for a second, and I caught it. I said, did you just hit the alarm? The color just drains from her face. I said, well, we need to get going here. I'm not going to take myself hostage. Now the color goes back red. She's furious. She opens up the register, slams the money down. I said, I'm going to need all the counters. She says, why? I'm the only one here. I look back. Manager still hasn't. He's just doing his things. I say, honest, Injun, because I know she's coming and I know the schedule. So she walks over, and so I got her, right? She pulls out a set of keys. There's got to be 30 keys that look identical. Have you ever seen those little silver keys that open a...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, she's got 30 of them, dude. Tries the first one, looks at me, looks at the clock. Tries the second one, looks at me. She does 4 of them that way. I had to leave, dude. So I take what money there is. I leave. I go to a place I have picked out, switch everything back. Everything's fine. T gets off of work. I go right back there, pick her up.
How much money was it?
Not much. Not much. The money she had put in there. A lot of times they'll put in $1 bills, just stacks of $1 bill. Well, there's ink on those, so it gets everywhere. So I did leave some of the money there. That robbery was a total failure, dude.
Are you checking for tracking?
Yeah, I always
and
say no
like that?
tracers or no die packs. Absolutely.
You're telling that over the counter to them?
Absolutely. Yeah, and you can look. You try to give it a quick thing. Yeah, you always want to try to check that. But if they're brave, they're brave. And she had done something better, which is the $1 bills that they just put on a light, and it's everywhere.
How long are you staking out the bank for?
I used banks I had used for years and years.
Okay.
When I was a traveling nurse, I had used this bank when I was going to Maria College. That's why I knew the schedule.
When you eventually get caught, do you get banned from those banks for life?
No. Bank.
Bank? Okay. One bank. Gotcha.
Right.
So you drop her off. You drop T off. What happens next?
Well, I did the bank job.
Yeah, you picked her up from
I pick
work.
her up. We go home. Everything's great.
That's what I meant, picked up.
So I go home. I'm a drug addict. There's one thing. I need to do one thing. Put gas in her car. But I don't because I'm a lazy drug addict. So I just get all fucked up. I go to sleep. In the morning, I hear her say, Jeep's on empty. I'm taking your car. Fuck. I hear Mad Duck. Mad Duck's my inner voice. I should have mentioned this. When I was out in Alaska, when I was a bear guide, they had a thing called the Talkeetna Bluegrass Festival. And I had flown from the bear camp in, and my friend was supposed to fly with me, and he didn't. And so I had to go to the Talkeetna Bluegrass Festival by myself. But I had tons of beers and stuff, so I go. And there's an Indian dude there, and he's got kind of a tent set up. And the Talkeetna Bluegrass Festival in Alaska, it's run by the Hells Angels. They have a deal with the police. They'll take care of anything, and the police will wait out there. So it's very open with drugs and all that. That said, if you get in a fight, the Hells Angels beat you up. So there's no trouble. So there's an Indian there selling mushrooms. I ask him if I could, I tell him the whole story. I don't have my friend. If I buy your mushrooms, can I stay and take them with you? And then you can drink my beer. He says, yeah. And he's there with a girl. I don't think he was there with the girl. And people were coming and going and sitting and buying mushrooms. And he's giving the girl an Indian name and stuff. And it's going back and forth. And I'm on the shrooms. And at some point, I simply said, hey, I want an Indian name. And he just went, Mad Duck, and went back. Mad Duck. And that was it. I have told girls that, I said, well, why Mad Duck? And he was like, because a duck doesn't swim through life, it floats. But it wasn't anything cool like that. He just said, Mad Duck, and went back to the girl. So that's where I got the name Mad Duck.
Okay.
And stuff. Okay, so
she takes the car with...
I hear Mad Duck, and Mad Duck is now my inner voice. I've always, like I said, been alone, so I always talk to her. Says, fuck, that car shouldn't be out there, Yeah, a car can be out. It's very important that they not see the vehicle you leave in. I can't emphasize how important that is. They're gonna eventually find out what kind of car it is, but they must not see you leave and be like, yo, that's the car and stuff. So she goes back to work, parks my car, goes to work. I get a text. First text is, yo, there's cops all over the place. Sure glad I came in early. Next text. Yo, there's cops standing around the car. I'm like, oh, maybe the tag, or I think I made up something about the insurance. But now fucking alarms are going off in my head. Next text is, hey, security just called me down. So now I know I'm fucked, man. They're on. Later, I would learn what happened was when I got out of that car and checked those cars, I missed a woman. She had dropped her son off at work, had pulled up to that parking lot and put her seat back. I was kind of half reading the book, half crashing out. So when I scanned it, I missed her. So she goes home. She sees this whole thing of the construction, man. She's like, fuck yeah. Blah, blah. So that's why the cops are there. So the cops, you know, they get Tara. They say, is this your car? No, it's my husband. Now, I have zero criminal record, but I have a CWP, concealed weapons permit. So that comes right up, a picture of me. They go to the woman. Is this the guy you saw dressing up like a construction man? Yes, sir. So now, I already knew when she said security called me down. Yeah, I was in trouble. So I had some things at the house that I did not need found that were just bad. So I leave Mad Duck Pond. I go to a friend's house. I drop some sting off. I remember he gave me some pills because I was like, you know, I think I'm going to have to go on the run. So I get another text from T, and it says, sweetheart, I don't feel good. I'm going to come home early from work. Are you at home? Well, me and T never called each other cupcake or anything like that. So that's the cops. They have her. So I say, oh, yeah, you bet. I'll meet you in 1 hour. Fuck. So I go to another friend's house. I mislead this friend. I say, hey, can I borrow your car for a couple hours? She had a bigger car. I got to do something. Are you going out today? I swear to you, she said, no, I'm not going out. I said, great, I'll just leave the Jeep there because we had the Jeep. Now, every cop in the world is looking for my wife's Jeep, okay? So I leave the Jeep there. I know the police have Tara, and I'm beginning to know that they're going to come for me. So I'm going to drive down and talk to Tara's dad and tell him everything. I have a way to get away, but I had no plan to, like, that started with my wife being arrested, you know. That's, like, I didn't know what to do. I can get away, but I can't really leave my wife in jail. That's grimy. So on the way down, I stop and buy a burner phone because I already know. I don't know why I did that. I do know why I did that. I know I'm going to run. I know this is going to be a chase. I just need to get... We got to cut that. Can we cut that? Got to cut her name.
Yeah.
All right, T. I know I got to get her out of the cops' hands. So I drive down to where her father lives. This is Rockland County. And on the way there, the police are following me. They don't know that I've swapped vehicles, but they're tracking my phone. I have 2 helicopters following me. I have a bunch of police that are forming up. They're just looking for the green Jeep. That's the only reason. I see police all over. I'm driving down. They don't know I'm in this other vehicle. So I get to T's house, and I say I got to talk to... I tell her dad everything. I say, look, I have robbed this bank. They have Tara. They definitely want to talk to me. So we go inside the house. We're in her father's house, and my phone rings, and it's the girls whose car I have. So I pick it up, and she's just, you know, what's going on? When are you getting back? And finally she says, well, look, Victor, there's somebody here that wants to speak with you. She hands it over. It's a detective. He says, Mr. Shear, do you know what we're looking for you for about? And so I say, growing marijuana? He says, well, you need to start being honest. I said, are you the one that pretended to be my sick wife? And it got real quiet. And he says something along the line like, if you don't turn yourself in right now, I can't protect you when they catch you. And he was right, because if you run, they're going to try and kill you. So basically, I either stop right then or it's a duck hunt. And all of a sudden, the whole house starts to shake, and it's the helicopter coming in. And I don't remember this happening, but later this detective told me I actually said, hang on, I'll call you back, and hung up the phone. I don't remember that. I do remember I found myself in her backyard. Once that house started to shake, I heard that inner Mad Dog voice say, ambush. Like she had kept me on the phone until they almost had me. And so I come out, and I can see there's armored personnel carriers coming up. And there's a helicopter, but he can't really hover, so they're kind of doing figure eights. So the way Rockland County works is it's kind of like there's a subdivision, and then there's rocks, and then they'll kind of subdivision. It's really built into like a Rockland County. So I can see how they're going to make the circle. I see where the circle starts. I see where it ends. So I just go. I still have time to get out of this circle before they encompass her dad's house. So I get out of it, and I'm heading down. And in Rockland County, like I said, there'll be a road cut into the mountain, and then it's all rocks. And then, so as I'm cutting down, I notice there's no traffic, but that it doesn't. I just say, hey, there's no traffic tonight. I don't realize that at this point, every single cop in New York is looking for me. I mean, there are just tons of people on me. So I come down, and there was a flat road, and I decided to follow it a little ways, and all of a sudden, bing, headlights come on. And my inner voice says, yo, duck down, just in case that's a cop. So I duck down. It's a state trooper canine. So he kills the lights, and I'm underneath these bushes, and there's a half-circle parking lot. He whips in there. He's no more from me to that wall away, but he's got his lights off, so there's no way he saw me. So I get up, I walk down, I'm going down this guy's driveway, and on the right-hand side, there's a pretty good-sized, beautiful mobile home. If I touched it, I bumped into it on accident. I did not try and get into it. I'm on the run. So I go past it, and I come into a swamp. Do you know what bougainville is? It's like a tree that only gets like this big, and it grows out of water that's like this deep. It's a bitch to go through, almost impossible for dogs. So it's a bitch. So I struggle through that, and I realize that the canine guys now have to hate me and stuff. So as I bust through, I come out of the bougainville swamp. I only go about 20 feet, and I kid you not, I come to a cliff, and it's straight down, and I estimate it to be at like 60 or 80 feet. Now, have you ever taken the train to New York City, to upstate New York?
Just to New York City, not to upstate.
Okay, well, this will be a reference point for everybody that has. When you're on that train, you look to the left, the Hudson's right there. When you look to the right, there's actually a wall there. Well, I'm on top of that wall. And for another reference point, I'm not too far from the Bear Mountain Bridge, okay? So I can't climb this cliff, dude. It's like, did you ever see the movie Rambo?
Yeah, of course.
Remember when he gets to that part and he has to climb the cliff, but he knows he can't, and he can't go back? I'm there, dude. A spider would have had trouble climbing this. I can't do it. So I look down, and at the bottom are the railroad tracks. I can't go back, so I start climbing. I make it about 20%, and I just start falling. And so in the Army, they had taught you, if you start to fall, to kind of reach out and just start dragging, you know. So as I do that, I look down, and below me is a speeding Amtrak train. I mean, those trains are going like 80 miles an hour for like a nanosecond. I think I can like land on it like a cowboy and stuff. There's no fucking way, dude. I'm dead. So I go back to pulling on the wall, and I hit. And when I hit, I kind of hit feet bottom back, and I fall back, and I'm about 2 feet from those wheels that are just, and then the train is gone. And if you look at those tracks, it's like an optical illusion. They've cut the wall back, so if anything does fall off, it lands right next to the track. So I didn't land on the track. I landed right next to it. So I get up. I don't know what made me do this, but I look to the right, and there is the Bear Mountain Bridge. And it's just filled with police, dude. I mean, it looked rather beautiful, I must say, because there were cops on both ends and in the center. So from the distance, it just looked like a flashing pretty line. So I'm not going to go that way, right? We'll go the other way. Landed, I smashed my hand and left a bunch of blood there. And I can remember Mad Dog saying, well, there's our blood trail. And sure enough, they would later pick up on that blood trail. Okay, so when I get up, I look right. There's a Bear Mountain Bridge filled with cops. Can't go that way. We'll go left. Now, the Hudson's right there. I got to get across the Hudson. So I'm walking, and I'm thinking I got to find a boat or something, do something. I'm looking at all the moss-covered rocks, and all of a sudden, I see a moss-covered rock the size of a bread box. But it's perfect. It's perfect. And the nanosecond I see it, I hear Mad Duck say, we're out of here. And it wasn't a rock. I knew immediately it was one of those blue pieces of deck foam that go underneath that hold the deck up. You ever seen those? Mm-hmm. Great. I'm just going to float down the river and get away, right? Yeah. So I start to go in, and I realize I have all those pills. So I take out my pills, and I start counting out my dose. I can remember Mad Duck saying, why are you counting those? What are you going to do with the extras? I mean, I don't like telling you this, but the truth of the matter is the best thing you can do right now is to take all those pills, swim out there, do your little fish out of water thing you did on the airplane, sink to the bottom, and never be found. You'd die a mystery like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It's perfect, right? Otherwise, they're either going to kill me or I'm going to go to prison. You know, I'm not really going to get away. So I took the pills, dude. I don't know how many there were, but I just took them, and then I scooped down the Hudson River, and I think it took me 3 pulls to get all the pills down. Fuck it, I'm not going to be around for the diarrhea, right? So I go out, and I realize that if I put this piece of foam underneath my neck and just scissor, I can stay afloat. So I just start floating down the Hudson. And I think I was out there about an hour or so when a garbage barge came. Now, the only thing above water is just my head and stuff. Sometimes I would roll over and swim, but the current's pretty strong, so I knew I kind of had to float over. Have you ever seen the movie The Deer Hunter?
No.
Oh, well, in that movie, they get away by floating away. So I thought of that, too. I was like, oh, man, we're just going to float away. And so a garbage barge goes by, and it went by so close that if you had looked over the railing, you would have seen my head there, and you could have spoken to me without raising your voice and stuff. Like, I often think, like, what I could have said to somebody if they saw me, like, one thing that would, like, forever change their life, like, don't ever masturbate again. Yeah. Fucking, what was that? Why would they say that? So,
Yeah.
So the barge leaves, and I can remember my inner voice, Mad Dog, just saying, you can just keep going. You can rest when you get to the other side. You can rest when you get to the other side. I would estimate that it took me about 4 hours to get across the Hudson. And this was August, 3/4 moon. A fucking beautiful night, dude. A beautiful night for a swim. So I've been in the water about 4 hours, and I look up, and I notice it's black. And at first I think, okay, you just got to keep going. But then Mad Dog's like, yo, that's really dark. That's the shore. So I let my feet down, and I touched the shore. I had made it. So I kicked that blue thing away, and I got to be honest, whatever that dose of pills was perfect, dude. I came out of that water feeling fantastic. So at the time, I thought I ran up and over Bear Mountain, and West Point was to my right, but I don't know now. I think I'd floated so far down the river that I don't know where I got out. I've tried to find it on Google's, but I couldn't. So I get out, I think I'm out about an hour or so, and finally the sun comes up. Well, I'm sort of tired. I've been physically running for 24 hours, so I'll always remember this. There were these big boulders, and there was a space underneath, so I dug it out, and I crawled underneath, and then I covered myself, so if anybody walked by, they wouldn't see me. But I always thought, like, you know, if anybody ever says, go back to the rock you ever crawled out from, I'm like, well, it's in Rockland County somewhere. So I sleep. I don't know how long I sleep. I get up. I start following the railroad tracks. I'm back on railroad tracks. There's water to my right. I have to get across. A pickup truck crosses and backs up. It's fucking over, right? The guy's just mad dogging me. Now I'm all beat up. I'm soaking wet. I'm covered in blood. The guy says, what the hell happened to him? And I don't know where this came from. This was Mad Doc. He just says, oh, I crashed my friend's four-wheeler and I broke my phone. Do you think we could get a ride? Guy says, absolutely. So I get in. He says, I got to stop for a couple of sales. I was like, this dude is not. I was like, what kind of sales? He says, garage sales. So, and we're passing cops all over the place. You know, I'm not that far from the whole mess. And when I was floating down the river, I could see the helicopters doing the figure eights. I never saw any flashlights on the shore. They eventually got there and then asked T if I was the type of guy to commit suicide or something. I wasn't. Or maybe not. I don't know. So we stop at the first garage sale, and I bought a cup of coffee for $1. I actually bought the mug, and I said, if I buy this mug, can I have a cup of coffee? She said, yeah, so I drank that. We go to the next one, and a woman buys a couch, a fainting couch, and I just said, hey, I'll help you get that in the van. So I pick it up. I put it in the van for the day. That guy says, hey, you're a pretty good old boy. I'll give you a ride to wherever you need to go. He gives me a ride to someplace. This person has asked to remain anonymous, and they will. That person gave me a ride to New York City. In New York City, I take a bus I'm going to take a bus to Texas. In Texas, I'll get picked up by my friend, and I can get into Mexico and get away. So the bus stops at Myrtle Beach, and I get off, and I just don't get back on, dude. I cannot. You know, when I went on the run, this dude, my wife's boss had sent me a text. Yo, the cops are looking for you. Well, they assumed he's the one that tipped me off. So they had thrown him in jail when really it was T when she said, yo, sweetheart, she's the one that tipped me off. By the time he called and told me that, I was already on the run. So they had him, and Tara they kind of didn't have. What I don't know is that they've taken Tara back to Mad Duck Pond, and they've raided Mad Duck Pond, and they've brought a bobcat that's bulletproof with a boom, because I got custom doors. They're this thick, and they open out, so there's no way you can kick them in. So they just battle ram it, dude. It takes like 3 times, and they bust my door down, and they go rushing in with machine guns. And the whole time, T, my wife, she's like, I have the keys. And they're tracking me on the phone. You don't have to wreck my shit. They're just like, well, we got this bobcat. We never get to use it. So it's just boys and their toys, and they smash my shit up.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so they tear apart the cabin. Well, the cabin has 3 secret places built in. They never found any of them and stuff. So I'm in Myrtle Beach, and I stay there a couple of days. And during these days, the police don't know I'm in Myrtle Beach. They assume I'm back in the local area. And that camper I told you I'd walked by and maybe bumped, that dog had said I was in there. So they had pried the door open and blew it up with shock grenades. And there's a lot of chaos behind me. I don't know it because I'm moving, but when I get to Myrtle Beach, I start watching the news and going back, and I have a way, and I realize it's crazy back there. Like some kid is going to sneak out to his girlfriend's house, and they're going to be like, Victor Shear, and he's going to be like, what? And they're going to be like, bam, bam, bam. So I was really afraid they were going to kill the wrong person looking for me, because now they're pissed. They don't like it if you get away. So it's about a week, and they're finally like, well, we're just going to arrest T. So I say, fine. I go to a Subway. I order a half a meatball, and I order a half a meatball, 6-inch. And I say to the guy, listen, I know now that there's a federal warrant for me. I'm on the FBI's list and stuff. I tell him, would you mind dialing 911 and tell him that Victor Shear's having fun? He says, you can do whatever you want to do. The phone's over there. I'm not doing that shit. So I pick up the phone. I dial 911. I say, I'm Victor Shear. I know I have a federal warrant for me for bank robbery. I'm going to hand this over to the guy as the manager. He's going to give you the address. I don't know where it's at. So I give it to him. And he gives them the address, and I sit down. All of a sudden, I hear the manager say, holy shit, because he didn't believe me. Now he's pulled it up, and there's the wanted poster. So I asked him if I could smoke a couple cigarettes. He said yes. So I smoked cigarettes, and I just watched the police go bing, 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 until there was just so many of them. And now they come, so I just stand up, and the manager was like, maybe he had trouble with the cops before. I don't know. He's like, you need to lay down spread eagle. So I lay down spread eagle. They were very nice. They handcuffed me. I go to jail in Myrtle Beach. The first jail is North Myrtle Beach, which is a piece of cake. But then I go to the main Myrtle Beach, and then I go to a federal place called J.B. Long. Because if you rob a bank, the feds have first crack at you. So this is how I believe I got out of going to federal prison. So I'm in the J.B. Long Correctional Facility. I get brought down to a place, and this dude comes in, and he's a badass looking dude. He looks like a TV FBI guy. Like, he looks cool, and he walks in, and he says, my name is Special Agent Long with the Bank Robbing Task Force. Well, are you aware that Long is spelled two ways with one G or two?
I've seen two G's.
Right.
Yeah.
So I simply say, long like my sentence or the other way? And he starts to laugh, and he stops. He says, 1G, like your sentence. So he sits down, and I say, look, I'm in big trouble. I'm going to need a lawyer. But what I will tell you is that I did everything, and I did everything alone. You're chasing the wrong people. You know, I just went on the run because that's what I do. You know, this kid, you know, he made that call, but I was already on the run. I don't even know him. The truth of the matter is, he likes my wife a lot more than he likes me. So that's probably why I made the tip. I do feel bad for Tony. Tony, if you're listening, you did the right thing. I'm sorry things went south for you. So he says, well, look, either two things are going to happen. Either we're going to keep you or we're going to send you back to New York. I say, well, I have a request. He says, what's that? I say, if I go back to New York, can I go back with the marshals? He says, why is that? I said, that's a long ride in the trunk of the car, getting the boots every time they need gas and smokes, dude, because I know they're pissed. They looked for me for a week, and I'm in Myrtle Beach. I was really on the beach. I had a hotel. I was by the Ferris wheel. Have you ever been to Myrtle Beach?
No,
they got a boardwalk with the Ferris wheel. Go there, have fun. Especially if you're a New Yorker going to prison, you should probably go see the ocean, you know. Okay, so he says that's not going to happen. You know, whatever's going to happen, you're not going to get beat up. So that was good. So he leaves, and he's going to send me back to New York. So 3 New York detectives fly down. Well, they fly down in Gray 1. Do you know what that is? Mm. Governor Cuomo has his own jet airplane. It's a turboprop jet. He has 2 of them. He has Gray 1, Gray 2. Well, the state police are the pilots. So they ask if they can borrow it to fly down and pick me up. He says, yeah. So they fly down, they pick me up. So we get on the airplane. They give me a big speech, like, if you try and crash this airplane, you're going to be in big trouble. Well, I'm already in big fucking trouble, but I promise not to crash your plane. So when I got in the airplane, I sat next to the window, because that was like the biggest seat, and a detective sat here, a detective sat here, and a detective sat here. And we're flying along, and I said, hey, where does the governor sit? And then we all realized I was sitting in his seat, because that's so he can talk to his, like, minions and stuff. So they had put me in the governor's seat. So I fly back to New York on Gray 1, and I'm transferred to Albany County Jail. My last nursing job had been at Albany County Jail.
Did they know that you were a nurse there too?
Yeah. Yeah, they know now. They know all about me. Now, like, all the secret stuff is they're putting it together like, yeah. So, yeah, of course, but it doesn't matter. I robbed the bank in Albany County, so I go back to Albany County. And, I had been a nurse there, so that's kind of depressing when you have to go back and see all these people.
Do you ever think about if you stayed on the run longer, what would have happened?
I know what would have happened. I would have taken one more bus to Dallas, Texas, where I would have gotten off early. My friend would have picked me up. We would have driven to Brownsville, Texas. I would have walked across to Matamoros, and I would have followed the same trip the way to Belize as I just drove that bus. I'd driven that VW bus years earlier, so I had friends in Belize, and there's no extradition in Belize. So if I make it to Belize, I get away, but this isn't kick the can. There's no reset. I have to stay away forever.
And did you have enough money to even do that off?
No, I'm a super drug addict. I only go out. I mean, people that, you got all that money saved up. No, man. You don't go out until you're totally broke. I have no money, dude. And I'm a super drug addict. I have to have X amount of drugs all the time or I start getting dope sick.
So you're back in Albany. What did they end up charging you with? What was the
First degree robbery.
In the state level, the feds didn't take it up?
The feds let me go, dude,
okay.
and stuff, which had me nervous because in the beginning with the feds, it was 35 years and stuff. And people are always like, oh, you should have got the feds. Going to Fed, they have a salad bar. But yeah, in Wisconsin, like you said, or wherever they sent you.
Yeah.
I don't have friends in Wisconsin. I don't want a federal salad.
You probably would have got a longer sentence if it was
Absolutely.
Federal. Because it's armed. I know like the guys that were just passing notes on the federal level for bank robberies, that was like 5 to 8. But I think when you have an armed robbery, in your case, it's like 15.
I would believe it.
Yeah. So you end up getting 8 years.
I got 9 years.
9 years. Yeah. How much do you serve out of 9 years?
7 years, 2 months, 13 days.
Oh, you have it down to the science.
Yeah, I was counting.
And where did they send you?
Okay, first place is, I spend a year in Elmira. I get CMC'd A for escape. But I never escaped. I ran, but I never escaped. Getting CMC in the state of New York is bad. So I get sent to Clinton Correctional Facility, lower H APPU. So we get to APPU, lower H, and unless you've done time in a bank vault, you have never done time like this behind this door. This door, it's like a bank vault, and what it is lower H is filled with the worst people ever. So that door, it wasn't to keep those inmates out. It was if they lost control of the prison, the other inmates couldn't get in. I mean, APPU has the foulest people ever. These people have done such horrible things that, of course, regular inmates will kill them and stuff. And I'm in with serial killers. But I'm also in with cops, cop killers, anybody that's worked, former COs.
Yeah, you were with Stephen Dominguez, who was on the show.
Yeah, right. And so I have a history of working in prisons. And so because of that, that swim to Getaway, they're just like, no fucking way.
Oh, wait, so they counted that as your escape, the swimming?
Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't try to escape from prison? No.
I mean, I was away. You don't turn yourself in and then decide to escape.
Yeah.
Once I turned myself in, I was like, that's it. You're going to fucking prison.
How did they treat you? Because you're like a middle-aged white guy that goes into prison.
Well, when you go to APPU, first of all, I'm in for bank robbery, so that's kind of high up there. I'm not in for anything. But like you, I look like a child molester.
You do. You do fit
us
that
white
part.
Guys are freaking chomos.
And you're
terrible.
skinny. You're skinny.
I'm skinny.
Yeah.
I wasn't this skinny. I got skinny later, but I was treated fine, dude. Once they found out I was a bank robber, and because I was a nurse, people always had medical questions for you. So in prison, I know you had things going. You did things for people. So I just did their sick slips or sick call. I knew how to write that for you. Or if you wanted to do, because I had worked
in there
in prison system as a nurse. So yeah, I knew exactly how to write your sick calls, So I'm in Clinton for 3.5 years. or 2.5 years, just from 15 to 17. I'm there for the escape. Don't be in a prison for an escape or a riot, dude. Because I was locked down from June for about 6 to 8 months, dude.
And when you say lockdown, what does that mean?
It means I didn't leave my cell after that escape. We just did not leave.
Those were the 2 guys that had escaped? Or
yeah, so I was there only 6 months when those 2 fellas escaped. And if we had more time, I do have a story about that if you want to hear it.
I'll hear about the escape, yeah.
I don't know much about the escape. Here's what I know. I'm there 6 months. I'm spinning the yard, and the guy comes up. Now, he's still there, so I'm not going to say his name. He says, Victor, when you were in the Army, did they teach you how to make a compass? I said, no. In the Army, they give you one. But in the Boy Scouts, they teach you how to make a compass. He says, can you make me one? I say, yeah, maybe, probably. Do you know how to make a compass?
No.
It's real easy. Find something that floats, take a piece of metal, get a little charge to it through a magnet or anything, and then just put it in water, and it'll automatically go towards, I think it's true north or magnetic north. But the most important thing with a compass is that it can keep you going in a straight line. In the woods, depending on if you're left-handed or right-handed, all you'll do is make big circles, believe it or not. If you're left-handed, you'll push with your left, and I think you make a big right-hand circle. If you're right-handed, you make a big left-hand circle. So the important thing about a compass is that, you can go in a straight line. So I agree to make him a compass, and I find all the stuff. I took something similar to this, but it was plastic. Mm-hmm. And I find a piece of foam insulation. I trim it down. I put the little staple through it. You put in some water. I put it in there. I show him how to charge it and stuff. And it works. He says, perfect. I need you to do me a favor. You work in commissary. Now, Lower HAPPU had zero contact with the other inmates, with the exception of commissary. We did everybody's commissary. So what he asked me to do is that go get his slip. He had bought did you guys have those chocolate cupcakes?
Yeah, the Hostess ones?
They're all chocolate.
I think they were Hostess.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
and maybe the wrapper was red plastic on top.
Nah, I don't remember off bat, but we did have chocolate cupcakes with vanilla filling.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So I just simply took his order that I filled, opened up one of those, popped it in there, put it in there, and sent it to him. And it was the dude Hacksaw.
Who escaped.
Now, I don't think they followed the direction because those dudes just went around. I don't think this other dude, I told him, I said, you have to charge it. Otherwise, it's just a floating piece of shit. I don't know if he told them that or that. And he had told me it was for a Muslim that wanted to make sure he was praying in the right direction. Now, I didn't believe that, but I don't care. He was going to give me like a couple pack bricks. Remember? I think they call cigarettes bricks.
Yeah.
So he's going to give me a couple bricks to make it. So he did it.
So did they automatically improve security there while you were there when the guys escaped?
Yeah, there's cameras there now. Everything is different. I can't believe those guys got out of there.
That's a guy that scaled the wall?
No.
Oh, okay.
Those guys cut holes in the back of their cells. Everybody knew there were tunnels underneath Clinton. APPU used to clean them. I couldn't because of my status, but my friend and Steve, maybe Steve had been down in those. And let me say something about Steve Dominguez. That was a much nicer man than me in prison. He was like the community guy. He helped everybody. That is a very, very nice, well-natured man. I wasn't. I don't know.
Why would they just leave tunnels there? Like, you would have thought they would have done something to...
They needed them. Everything has to go out somewhere, all the ventilation and all that. But I don't know how they cut those holes. How nobody heard them, dude.
I know, that's pretty crazy.
I do have one theory.
Okay.
I believe that when they got all their hamburgers, they went down and said, hey, everybody can have free hamburgers. And when everybody ran down there, they went back and cut those holes real quick. I just don't know why. Because there's so many rats in prison. Yeah. Like, how nobody...
someone didn't snitch? Did one of them die, or did both die? Or
yeah, Hacksaw died.
And the other guy didn't?
Yeah, David Sweat was shot a couple times, and now his life is shit. He's got admin seg, so he just sits in a room with the lights on all day.
Yeah, I remember when all the cities were on like lockdown and stuff when they were searching for these guys.
Those guys, and I mean this, they're idiots. You spent 10 years in a prison miles from the border, and you didn't figure it out that you could have ran up a stream? I mean, how did you not know which way was north?
Do you think they could have made it, like actually escaped?
Absolutely. If I had escaped, I would be in Nova Scotia right now cleaning barnacles off the bottom of a boat.
Even in today's world with all the technology, you don't think that they would have got you before you left?
Canada said, if we find them, we'll send them back, but we're not looking for them. We're not going to spend a bunch of overtime.
It to Canada.
Oh, absolutely. From Clinton to Canada, piece of cake. 2-hour run.
Wow.
I think it's 2 hours on foot.
How long did it take for the prison to figure out they were missing once they escaped?
So here's how it was on nights. When they locked that same thing, most of the guys at Clinton at this time that worked nights had day jobs. Like they did lawn maintenance and stuff. So when the night guys came in, if you had a medical emergency, you would be found dead in the morning because they were going to sleep. That's why they didn't know, dude. Once they did that one count, okay, everybody's locked in, they locked themselves in and went to sleep. You never saw a CO unless he was some perverted creep. We had one of those called the Creeper. I think he's a creep. Other than that, you never saw a CO at night. There were no cameras. There was no box.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's no.
Oh, I'm sure it's so different now.
Yeah, now it's crazy, and they have things. And even when I was there, the horns didn't work and stuff. I was, So when they escaped, I remember. I don't know. I thought I might get. They did pull guys out of APPU that had worked with that Joyce Mitchell, but I'd only been there 6 months, so I didn't have any connections. So they just left me alone. But
wow,
it's bad. They come down and they put you in your underwear and they're ready to beat the shit out of you because these guys are still missing. It's not like they ran and got caught. They were missing for weeks. So, every time this CO's going to work, somebody's like, "You suck." So he gets to work and he just wants to take it out on us. So it was terrible, dude.
So you ended up doing about 7 years, you were saying, right?
I did 2.5 there. And then in 2017, I was sent to Mohawk Correctional Facility. And they said if I did 2 years in a food factory, they'd give me 6 months off.
So you did it?
Oh, yeah. Do anything to get the fuck out. Look, I was totally wrong. The drugs had me all confused. And
you got sober in prison?
Yeah, and here's the thing. I'm not a quitter. Once I commit, I commit. So I really was going to just do drugs till I died. I really thought I'd be killed robbing banks. Like, I wasn't going to give up. I knew sooner or later I'd get boxed in, and it just never happened. So you can get drugs in prison, but you can't get drugs in APPU, dude. So if you tried to buy drugs, they would just rip you off because they're like, "You're a sex offender." "No, I'm a bank robber." "Sure you are."
That's what they all say.
Yeah, and take his money. So for those 2.5 years, I just sobered up.
So it forced you to get sober?
Yeah, and I was like, "You're a fucking idiot." So yeah, man,
What year did you get out?
2020, the end of 2020.
Oh, so during COVID you got out?
Yeah, I got out. So I never really had probation. That was on hold, and then they just let me off of it. I think I went to probation one time just to sign in, and then they were like, "Don't ever come back." So I never really had to do that. I did, when I got out, I took a job working for the Amish. And
the Amish?
Yeah, and I got to say, the Amish probably saved me from going back to prison, dude. These are the greatest people. When I came out of prison, I was just, like I always am, hyper and stuff. So they stick me in a truck with like 5 well-natured teenage boys. Well, everybody will get sick of being the bad guy sooner or later. And you remember when you had Catwoman on here and she was like, "If you hang around good people, you'll start to be good." She was right, dude. I started acting not Amishy, but I just had to be a nice person because they're nice people, dude. I don't want to be the jerk all the time. So, yeah, I worked with the Amish from sunrise. They are some working fools, dude. sunrise to sunset for 3 years. I do pay a girl to record all my stories. I'd written just story after story about everything. And so I come home, I turn on YouTube, and there's Steve. He's got his book out, and he's doing everything I wanted to do. And I can remember me and Steve had written a bank robber. There's a bank robber from Albany, New York. He was a lawyer, gets hooked on heroin. He wrote a book called Shear Madness. Now, I wanted to write the real Shear Madness because my name's Victor Shear. And so I wrote him, and his name's Andrew. I can't remember his last name, but he would be great for this show.
Yeah. Have you talked to him?
Yeah.
Send him our way.
I will. Dana. I'm just terrible at anything technical. I was terrible before I went out. Yeah, I have to get an assistant.
So what do you do now?
Well, so I come home, I see Steve on there. So I quit the Amish. I wrote you and said, you want me on your show? You said yes. I went to the Amish. I said, I quit. We're good with that. I said, my gate will always be open for you, but I can't do that. I just don't want to do it anymore. I found something I could finally do. Flew out to Arkansas to talk to my brother to make sure I didn't give you some bullshit childhood story. And then I was there, and now I'm back. And I've got these cabins, Mad Duck Pond, so... Let me say, I built it the whole time. All I ever wanted to do was build this secret cabin, Mad Duck Pond. So when I went to prison, I had a power of attorney, and he put it on Airbnb. So I'm going to continue to do that. So if you would like to rent a secret log cabin, please come see us in upstate New York at Mad Duck Pond in Canajoharie, New York.
How many do you have?
I have two. I have a smaller one, Mercedes. When I came home, I couldn't reconnect to my house. Like, I could feel the presence of a lot of people in my bed. My friend slept over before I came home, and she said you would wake up in my bed in the missionary position. I mean, like for 7 years, people have been pounding it out there on vacation, so I had to get a new bed. But it just wasn't my cabin anymore, dude. It wasn't Victor's secret cabin. So I built a new one. So it's for everybody to use now. Come
At least
see
you
it.
made some income while you're in prison off of that.
Yeah, very, very little. And then, I had a mess when I came home that I'm still dealing with my power of attorney, ex-power of attorney. But
So what do you think is the biggest lesson people should take away from your story?
don't do drugs. Yeah. Somebody made a lot of money marketing that OxyContin. You turned a bunch of people into heroin addicts. I don't care who you are. You start taking those pills, you take them for more than 2 weeks, you're going to be addicted. There's no way. It's my fault. I'm a great manipulator. But somebody should have said, Victor doesn't have bone cancer. How the fuck did you give me all those pills? So somebody was making money. The pharmaceutical companies have done a terrible job with this OxyContin. Because prison, as you know, is filled with people that, I hurt my shoulder, I started OxyContin.
It all starts with
It
someone.
all starts there. Mine started with Vicodin. And I loved pills because I used pills to work. Like, I wasn't the type of drug addict that did nothing. I was always working 16-hour shifts and then building my house. So I used the pills to just keep going and going and going and going and going.
Yeah. Wow.
I tell you, in February, I get my nursing license back. So.
Oh, you're going to get back into that?
I don't know. Maybe. Maybe I'll go work with veterans. You hear these veterans committing suicide. That's because of those pills. Like, before I met T, I don't know how many times I'd have a hard day. And there's a trick you can do with a .45 pistol. You can push it to your head real hard and pull the trigger, and it won't go all the way. If you do it wrong, you're going to blow your brains out. So don't do it. But I used to do it all the time. So
Victor.
those pills are a mess, dude. They're
You've
messing
lived
people.
quite an interesting life.
Yes.
Do you have kids now?
No, I could never have kids, dude. My neighbors are yelling. I left my dog for a month at I would not be a good father.
What kind of dog do you have?
A shepherd.
And are you married still to T or?
No. So when I realized the old saying is the captain goes down with the ship, not the captain's wife. I had to tell T, you got to go back to the house and take all the camping gear. Because you're going to find somebody and they're going to have the interest. Maybe they want to go backpacking. They don't have the gear, but you are going on. I always thought I would die. I would joke with her, and she didn't like this. I would, if we didn't had an argument, I would just simply say, well, you can do that with your second husband. Because I'm not doing that. So I knew I always saw her life beyond me. I just thought I'd be dead. I just didn't mean to survive.
Yeah.
And I had to set up that she would have gotten a lot of money and stuff. I know that's not a good excuse, but the drugs had me crazy. Dude.
Are you guys in touch at all?
No, she has kids and a new life, and has probably completed therapy. And
hey, it takes a lot to let someone go like that.
This chick was tough. I have seen her on the point of hypothermia, hyperthermia, and incarceration. But I never saw her on the point of quit until I told her, you got to go,
Yeah. Wow. Well, Victor, thank you so much for coming today, man.
No problem.
I love your energy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was great chatting with you, and definitely keep in touch. And
I got to say hi to some people real quick. I want to
that-
thank my haircut to B&B Styles in Port Plain, New York. Say hi to the Anderson family and everybody else in Canada. Everybody, if you're on the New York State Thruway, it's exit 29. We got the Arkell Museum. We got Mad Duck Pond. We have everything. Come see us. Mad Duck Pond and Mercedes is on Airbnb and Hip Camp. So if you come out there, I'll tell you the stories. I couldn't tell Aaron.
do you have a website?
I do.
All right, well, send it to me and we'll put it
I
in
will.
your email.
Or she will. She's much better at
Have
that
your
stuff.
assistant email
I
us.
will. But find me and I'll get back to you.
Do you have
promise.
social media at all?
Yeah, sure. I have on Instagram, I think it's Shear Victor. We have Mad Duck Pond on Facebook. I think it's Mad Duck Pond 2024. And you have Victor Shear on Facebook if somebody
Awesome.
wants to
We'll put
find
all the
me.
links for it. Make sure you send it.
Okay. I need a publisher for those stories, so somebody find me.